I ended up getting married, had 2 little girls. When my daughters got really, really sick, she contracted spinal meningitis. She had kidney failure. She had all these things. And they told me that she wasn't going to make it. Within a very short time frame, my husband at the time, I found that he was having an affair. And so within a matter of like a month, my husband moves in with her, drains our bank accounts. We just bought a new house. And like, here I am. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I was like, I have got to keep these kids in this house. Like my whole goal was keep them here, keep them safe. What am I going to do? So I just sold 69 houses my first year in real estate. I think I made $760,000 in commission that year. Like imagine going from six years as a teacher, making $60,000 after 6 years to do $760,000. You know, if you have a big enough reason for anything, you'll do anything. That's what it was.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Travis Makes Friends. Today, I am making friends with Krista Mashore. Krista, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Travis.
Of course. So before we get started, I'm going to force you to drink this energy shot.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
I already took one, so don't get mad at me for not taking one.
Okay, it's Ketone IQ.
Ketone IQ.
I'm on a fast and I'm a little hungry and I saw him take it and I was like, what is that? And he's had great things to say about it. So I was like, can I have one?
Yeah.
Sort of asked for one.
Yeah. So we were talking about this before because we both have health journeys of our own.
Yes.
Right. So one of the what I found out when I was doing a lot of intermittent fasting was one of the reasons to do them is that if you do not have any more glycogen stores left, then your body switches from burning glycogen, which is what your body turns like carbs and sugar into as an energy source. It switches from burning glycogen to burning fat, and then it turns that fat into ketones. And ketones is an alternative energy source for your body to go off of. So this is just exogenous ketones, which helps you maintain metabolic flexibility with like switching your metabolism between burning fat and burning glycogen for energy, which means that if you get into that like zone 2 cardio where you burn a lot of fat, you'll actually be burning fat instead of just like exhausting yourself and burning glycogen muscle that doesn't exist, or burning through the glycogen stores that are in your muscle. And it helps suppress your appetite and all that good stuff. So I like it a lot. So he schooled me.
He schooled me on this. He said,
they're great.
I'm like, what time do I take it? He's like, I fast. I eat from 11 to 7. So he's like, right around. You fast longer. No. I think around the same. I usually start around like 12 or 1 and go till about 8. About 8, yeah. I think I need to do a little bit later because I tend to eat a little bit later. Okay, ready?
Yeah. I heard. Go for it.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. It kind of tastes like what's that stuff you take when you're sick?
Cough medicine.
Cough medicine.
So funny. My wife said the same thing. I tend to agree. It is not.
I can't say it tastes good, but
it is not the best tasting.
Sorry, Ketone IQ. I didn't want to lie, but no, I'll tell you how I feel in like half an hour.
I'm not gonna lie about it either because they do not taste very good.
Okay,
but they are very effective, and especially before podcasts and stuff, I take them. I find it also boosts like mental clarity. It acts almost like a nootropic. Like if you take Alpha Brain or. Magic Mind is another product I take a lot. They're nootropics and they help, just with mental clarity. And I find that there's more information that I can access that exists in my brain.
Okay, so I might get a little crazy today. Like, what's that pill that guy takes? Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. Limitless.
Yeah.
It's kind of acts as that as well. So the benefits far outweigh, and that's why I like it as a shot. Because like I've seen some that are like drinks and I'm like, no, thank you. I don't need to prolong that. I'll just take it as a shot.
And, go buy this, right? Because don't you,
Yeah, they sponsor the show. Yeah, Ketone IQ. And I'm having the founder on here in a couple of weeks whenever I get out to LA next. So good product. A lot of like athletes take it and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll see what you think of it. And it's really helpful for me when I fast just because it's the appetite suppressant.
Yeah. I know because you get a little hungry. But
oh, totally. Yeah. Okay. Well, Krista, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Let's go back in time because most people listening to this or watching this that know who you are know you as this big personality real estate expert trainer. You've won I don't know how many ClickFunnels, 2 Comma Club awards, and now you 2 Comma Club X awards, which is 10 million plus in sales and all that stuff. You've obviously been extremely successful in that portion of your career. And then you were an actual real estate agent for a couple decades before that. So let's go back in time. I wouldn't say that. Let's go back in time. Talk to me about 7-year-old Krista Mashore. Where were you at 7 years old? Set the scene for us and talk to us about family life at that age.
Man, he goes pretty deep quick. Like that was like right in.
As quick as we can.
Okay. So I like to tell people I kind of had sort of two childhoods, if that makes sense, I would say. So I was raised in a very religious Jehovah's Witness, which I love Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm not one, but I really respect the religion and their morals and values. Those stuck with me. So I was raised in a very loving household with a very loving mother and father, two brothers. I was the middle daughter, and then also a very abusive mother at the same time. And so
this is the same mother though.
Same mother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my parents are still married.
Two sides.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's one of my best friends now, and she has been for a long time. But the abuse was pretty severe. So when I turned 13, I started running away from home, and I haven't lived at home since I was 13.
What made you when was the first time that you ran away from home?
13, like right around 13. So I just started running away, and then
because something specific, or just because
it was just like I got tired of the abuse. Yeah, and so I found myself living in like RVs or living in abandoned buildings, living in cars.
When you're that age, did you recognize how different it was, or were you just trying to escape the pain?
I don't know. I remember, so many happy moments growing up, and then also so many like sad ones. Just always not feeling like I was loved by my mom, or always wanting her approval. And quite frankly, I grew up being scared all the time. If that makes, I would just, that anxiety feeling you get. Have you ever been in trouble when you were a kid and you wake up and you're like you remember you're in trouble? It was like that feeling all the time,
Yeah.
But again, I always like to preface it, like my mom was also an amazing person, and she dealt with her own abuse, which is not my story to share.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing, like whenever I talk about this kind of stuff on the show too, it's never from a place of like vilifying the other person as much as it is like trying to unfold like why you did the things that you did. Because there's pros and cons to how everybody was raised. Everybody's parenting situations were different. And there's, besides the extreme situations, there's probably pros that everybody could take away. And there's probably a lot of cons that everybody can take away. And no matter how good of a parent you are, there will still be a ton of cons that your kid is going to take away. And they're going to be in therapy when they're 25 talking about all the stuff that you've done. Yeah, exactly. It's just like part of being a parent, right?
Yeah.
But obviously it informed of a lot of the decisions that you were making at that time. Did it affect schooling or like academics?
No, it was crazy because I was this, I had a learning disability when I was younger.
Okay.
Got put in special education because I couldn't read. They realized when I was in second grade, so I got put in special education. Yeah, I wet the bed until I was like 11, like just a lot of emotional stuff going on, know?
Yeah.
And when I got out of the special education class, I was like a straight A student. And so when I started running away, I was a straight A student. So the police were like, this doesn't make sense. Your daughter is not the typical runaway.
Profile.
Like she's a straight A student. And so no one kind of really knew what was going on or understood it. And then, so.
Where in the world were you? Like what's
I was in
city?
Concord, California. So
Concord. Okay. So
I was in the Bay Area.
Yeah. Like East Bay.
Yeah. East Bay is where I live now. Concord, California, and ended up finally breaking the law. I ended up stealing all the clothes and the lunch money from my 8th grade, like when the girls were at PE. So I stole their clothes because we didn't have any. And so we were on the run. We knew that they were at PE, so we snuck into the school, stole the clothes.
You say we? Who's we?
One of my best friends. She's now like the right hand man of my company,
woman
in my company. We've been friends since we were 7, and I'm 52.
Nice, that's awesome.
So then I got put in juvenile hall. Spent 3.5 months
because of that.
Because of that. Yeah.
Really? That's crazy. So they put you in juvie for a one-time offense of just stealing clothes.
Yeah, it was different back then, So they put me in juvie for 3.5 months.
Wow.
And then I got sent back home and things were still bad. So then I got sent to a group home first. I went to a group home for troubled girls for a year in Cottonwood.
Okay.
Called Hidden Hills Group Home for Girls. It was like this, you got dropped off every day in this big green bus in high school, like labeled, you suck and you're a screw up. So
wait, you got dropped off every day? So like Monday, you didn't stay there?
You stayed there. So meaning I went to the group home, and then the group home, they would drive us to school. And while they took us to school in this big, huge green bus.
Gotcha.
So it was just like more.
It was a display of like everybody at school. Yeah. Yeah, that's really good for young teenage girls' mental health for sure.
It was like one more like, oh, I suck. And
right. Totally. Yeah. It's like a billboard telling everybody you're a screw up. Yeah. Which only informs your identity and makes you be more of a screw up for most of that's the crazy thing about some of those group homes and stuff like that, is that they do so much worse for people than they do good for people.
Yeah, it was so it was just hard on the self-esteem, and then the self-worth and the value, and then everyone else made you feel even worse because they wouldn't. Anyways, it doesn't
so you said
matter.
That was before juvie or after?
That was after. So juvenile hall, 3.5 months. directly to a group home for a year.
How did you feel the difference was between juvenile hall and
it was
the group home?
less scarier. I mean, yeah,
It was easier at juvie?
it was
okay.
it was actually, it's crazy because juvie was kind of fun after I got used to being there, after I saw somebody get the crap kicked out of them. But I'll never forget, this big huge girl with red hair came in and she grabbed this girl's hair and slammed her against the porcelain toilet. Teeth are flying everywhere, blood's everywhere. I was 13 going, oh my God, I'm going to die in this place. But then I made friends with that person after she got out of isolation, and we became good friends, and they actually made us become roommates. So
the bully?
The bully. So it's like, if you're ever in juvie or you're ever in jail,
make friends with the big one.
The bad guy. That's what I did. Yeah. And it worked out well. So the group home was actually, it was hard because, you're in this place, you're living there, you're there for a year. So I ended up being a counselor there, like a student counselor. I was their youngest student counselor there. And then I went back home after a year, and then it was still, things weren't better. So they ended up sending me to a foster home.
Did you look at those things as like, now looking back, do you look at like juvie, your time in the group home and stuff as things that were actually helpful to you back then? Or were they, like, now looking back at them, like, that didn't make any sense to send me to those types of places? Like it was objectively worse.
No, I mean, like back then, they didn't know what to do with people. It was so different than now, and, nobody talked about abuse. You didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell anyone. Nobody knew. My parents, they didn't want me to go. Like, and, I was like, I can't stay here, but nobody knew I was leaving. They thought I just wanted to go party. Like I was raised Jehovah's Witness. So they thought, here I am. She just wants to, rebel and all these things.
Of course, yeah.
But it was very helpful. I mean, I learned really quickly, like I knew I was a good kid, and kind of just in a great environment, but also not one.
Sure.
Like I said.
Super confusing.
Yeah. And very, very low self-esteem, low self-worth. Just, I've battled with that for years. It's taken me a long time to really, I would say past 10 years, very confident. But no, I think it helped me. I mean, I really believe that, I know this sounds crazy, but I believe that God put me here, God, the universe, the higher power, whatever you want to call it, but to really help people. And I think part of my past was able to help me be really relatable and realize, like, oh my gosh, she came from kind of some humble beginnings. If she can, do what she's done, that I can do anything.
Yeah.
So I think it happened for a reason. I always tell my mom, like, she feels so bad. And I'm like, it happened for a reason. Don't, it's all good. You can
either pull purpose from your past, or you can, make excuses because of your past.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I didn't love leaving my family. I mean, even though I chose to leave, I missed them, and I was lonely and I was sad. But
again, confusing.
Yes, confusing.
Right? Like
yeah,
the place you feel safe / the place you feel not safe.
Yes, exactly.
It's got to be confusing.
Yeah.
So you said you went back home. So you got to be around 15, 16 at this point.
I was 14.
Okay.
Like 14 and a half.
I was going to say, young enough for them to put you in foster care.
Yeah, I went to foster care at 14.
Okay.
I turned 15 in the foster home.
Okay.
And that was, it was hard. I missed my family. Like, I remember crying at the foster home the first couple of months, but then I made some great friends. And
how are your foster parents?
They were nice, very nice. Yeah. But when I turned 18, I had to leave because the money wasn't coming in. It wasn't at fault to them. It was just like, so I've had to really figure it out. I was like, at the time, my mom didn't talk to me for a couple of years because I was like not in the church, and my dad did, but I had to kind of like from day one, the time I was left, financially, everything fell on me. Yeah. From everything.
What'd you do?
I just figured it out.
College was never on the horizon.
College was. So I actually went to college. I ended up working.
So you went to college out of the foster home?
Yep. Went to college out of foster home, got a loan, got student loans, got a couple like grants, like very, very small. Worked full time. I'd work, all day long or work late at night so I could go to school, and just, it was like,
props to you for keeping your grades
grounded it
during that time.
Yeah.
To get into, to focus on anything when you have that kind of stuff going on at home had to be extremely difficult.
It wasn't. I just, I kind of threw myself into it. Kind of like now, now I love to work, so.
Yeah. It was something kind of to focus on.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So getting to college, what did you go to school for?
Industrial psychology. So I got an industrial psychology degree, and then I got a master's in education, became a teacher.
So you're working the whole time?
Yeah, so the whole time. Yeah. Working the entire time. I worked at Costco. I would go to
just jobs, whatever job you could get.
No, I was lucky. I worked at when I was in Fresno City, I worked at a video store.
Oh, you were in Fresno?
Yeah, I went to Fresno then I got F's, and then I got sent home because I did not do good my first year in college.
Okay.
So I went back home and went to a junior college, and I worked like Costco from 10 to 6 every day and went to school from 6:30 to 10.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's great. Costco's a good job though.
Costco's a great job. Yeah. Most people stay there forever because they're making quote unquote good money. And I go there still, and they're the same people from like 35 years ago are still there. It's crazy.
It's kind of a really great case scenario for a lot of people.
Oh, it is. But
you're going to junior college and you're trying to like get a job making $30,000 a year when you're done, and you already have a job at Costco, and it's like, well, they have stock options.
Yeah, and they're paying. And back then it was like a capped at I think $17 an hour, which was like a lot.
Yeah.
Back then,
for sure. Okay. First of all, I didn't know you went to Fresno. So I lived in Fresno for 3 years. Yeah. So
I bet it's really different now. There was nothing there.
Oh,
Bulldogs,
really?
go Bulldogs.
Yeah. Well, there was there's a place right across from the Bulldogs campus that was like it's like the one thing I miss about being in Fresno. It's called Doghouse Grill, and they make these delicious tri-tip sandwiches that they like. There's always a line there. It was like one of the highlights of living there.
Yeah, they didn't have that one there.
No,
well, they probably did. I just couldn't afford it. Like I was like living on top ramen.
That's fair.
That's fair. Really, I couldn't go. If there was one, I didn't know about it because I was eating top ramen.
Okay.
Or sneaking into the cafeteria using my friend's card.
There you go. Yeah, even cheaper.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get your degree. And you get your master's degree, working the whole time. What do you do right after you're done with college?
Ended up getting a job that I hated, and then realizing
in the field that you studied.
It was like, no, it was just like I got my degree in something different, but I got this like I was like a repo person where they put like a repo person and calling people, and that when I was like, oh, I hate this. Then I met my ex-husband at the time, and I was like, I want to be a teacher, so I got my credential, and became a teacher.
School.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Lots of schooling then.
Lots of schooling. I have master's. Yeah. I got the master's after the credentials.
Did you enjoy all that?
I loved it. Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
You just like learning?
I'm a freak. Yeah. I'm a freak. Yeah. My hobby is learning. I'm so boring.
That makes you interesting in my opinion.
It's like, oh God.
Okay. So, odd jobs, not really sure how your degree fits into all of this. Did you feel like at this point that you were able to reconnect with your family? Did that?
Yes,
we
were. So when I got out of a couple of years after getting out of the group home, and, finishing college, I came and basically confronted my mom and said, hey, like, I want you to tell Dad what happened, because he thinks I just left. And the whole family, once I left, like the family kind of fell apart. My mom sort of had a nervous breakdown from all these memories came back for her, and it just ruined the family. But it was kind of like Krista ruined the family. So I wanted my dad to know, because we were so close. We still are.
That's wild. So your dad didn't know any of it?
He didn't know any of it, yeah.
Wow.
So she told him. And then she went to counseling with me and helped me heal and helped me kind of recover as much as she could. And so it's a great ending, And then from then we've, been super close ever since.
So this is like mid-20s?
Yeah, 23. 20. So I met my first husband at 23. My mom had the engagement party for me, got married, and things seemed good. We've been very close ever since. And I'd say it was probably around 22, 23 is when we got close, 23.
Okay, that's great. At what point did you kind of like separate yourself from the religious aspects
13.
Of spirituality?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
so you were done with it before
I was done with it at
moved
13.
on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you were experiencing all these things that were contradictory to what you were being told?
Yes, a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have another podcast called Figuring It Out, which was me, my wife, and my producer, Eric, who runs a show on religious abuse.
Oh, wow.
And so Figuring It Out, we talk a lot about religion and coming out of religion and where you
oh my gosh I almost feel guilty, like it's like even talking about it, because it's it's so like embedded into who you are. I'm not going to get it
it's like computer code.
Like I couldn't even go into a church for like still sometimes like I can't go into a church. It's not Jehovah's Witness church. Like I feel like I'm
totally
getting killed. You
totally
get it. It's like
and I won't press further on it.
Yes,
if you want to come on a different show, we'll talk about it in depth at some point.
I feel guilty. That's like it might be a little She's like, oh God.
Yeah. Oh, well, anything. I mean, guilt is kind of one of the core pillars of religion. Yes. And when I say religion, I'm talking religion, not spirituality, not relationship and I'm very, with God or the universe, whatever you have.
Very close to God. And I talked to him this morning, on the way here and, on the plane and all these things. But
okay. So do you
people like all this stuff? Really? They actually listen to this kind of stuff.
It makes me very.
They
curious.
Probably already deleted me. Like, delete. This person's so boring. Her life is messed up.
No, not at all. It's super interesting to me. I'm curious. I'm curious how much that stuff, in your opinion, made you good or not good or completely neutral when you started getting into real estate. meaning like I find that there's a correlation between religious upbringings and like communication, sales, marketing. Like I find that there's a lot of people that if you're kind of in this boat or were raised this way, you tend to have this kind of natural proclivity to being successful at this other thing. Or you go the complete opposite direction.
So let me preface this. Okay. So when I ended up getting married, had 2 little girls.
Okay.
And one of my daughters got really, really sick. She contracted spinal meningitis. She had kidney failure. She had all these things. And they told me that she wasn't going to make it. She's perfect now. Let's just say that. So I ended up leaving my full-time teaching job and going to be a stay-at-home mom. And I thought, okay, I'll get my license and I'll just play real estate. I'll sell a couple houses a year to make what I was making as a teacher. And right within a very short time frame, my husband at the time, I found out he was having an affair. And so within a matter of like a month, I get this phone call. I see your husband. He's golfing, AKA not. And there's this new girlfriend coming to my house, driving my car, picking up my daughters for Thanksgiving and taking them away for the weekend. My husband moves in with her, drains our bank accounts. We just bought a new house. And like, here I am. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Like,
and
just left my
25.
career. I was like 20s. I was 29, 30. So my daughter, no, that's not true. So Jalen she was about 5. So I was like 31.
Wow.
32. And all of a sudden I'm all, oh my God, we just bought a new house. I had the house. The money was gone from our accounts. And I'm all, what am I going to do? So now, mind you, because I hadn't lived at home since I was 13, 2 little girls, 2 and 4.5, I was like, I have got to keep these kids in this house. Like my whole goal was keep them here, keep them safe. What am I going to do? So I just sold 69 houses my first year in real estate. And it was just, I remember sitting in the kitchen.
So you literally just got your license because you're like, I want to do this kind of part-time, sell a couple deals or whatever.
I wanted to be a stay-at-home
But within
mom.
like a month, everything blows up.
Yes.
And you basically are like, I have no other choice.
Yes. And so I remember like just feeling so bad for myself. Like it was Thanksgiving, right? So my parents are Jehovah's Witnesses. So I'm by myself. My daughters are gone with the ex. And I'm just sitting there like drinking a bottle of wine like at 10 a.m.
Of course.
Feeling like a loser. Just more.
I'd be on my 3rd bottle of wine.
Yeah, I think it was 2. I was embarrassed. Like, I'm like, okay, it was 2 bottles. And finally I was like, just feeling like the worst, like not just angry, but sad and
all of those same feelings of insecurity and those same feelings of not being worthy, all those things come up again when you're going through a lot of the same stuff.
Of you suck.
Totally, absolutely.
So
why do you think this is the point, right? Like this is the make it or break it point for most people. Why do you think you made it when so many other people break at this point? Right?
I know why.
It could have easily been just enjoying 3 or 4 bottles of wine per day and ending up in destitute poverty, living off of the government, and having all of the excuses in the world to do so, by the way. Like I'm like even if that were the story, I wouldn't look at that and be like, oh, what a like waste of her potential. Be like, well, a lot of stuff kind of informed. Like it makes sense that those were the decisions that ended up coming out of this, but you didn't entertain it. You didn't like move in that direction, and instead you went the complete opposite direction and sold 70 houses your first year in
69.
real estate. 69, not quite 70.
I think I made $760,000 in commission that year. Like imagine going from 6 years as a teacher, making $60,000 after 6 years to do $760,000. It was crazy.
From nothing too. But that's my point is like how did you even get in the mental space to be productive when you were going through all of that?
So it's very simple, is that anytime you have a higher reason to do something, like people ask me all the time, how'd you sell 16 houses? And you're for sure. I'm like, it's because of my kids. It was like, I want to keep my kids in this house. I want to keep them safe. I remember after 2 bottles of wine, looking in the backyard going, because when you buy a house in California, it's just dirt. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I'm going to build a beautiful backyard. I'm going to build a pool. Like I literally visualized it. I'm going to build butterflies and unicorns in this backyard. So like within 10 months, had the most bitchin' backyard ever, huge water slide, like built into the pool. I mean, just amazing. And I just, cried in silence and worked and smiled in front of the kids. And when they went to sleep, I worked to death. And when they were at their dad's, I worked to death and I just crushed it. And I was top 1% agent every year since.
Wow. Just the deeper why.
It's why. I mean, it's like there's a reason. I mean, if you have a big enough reason for anything, you'll do anything. That's what it was. And And being smart about it. I remember being in the business, and this is what I do with everything, is looking outside of the real estate industry and thinking, okay, what are the top producers doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And okay, they're on the buses. All right, I'm gonna get a loan. I'm gonna be on the buses, but I'm gonna take it one step further. I'm gonna be on Comcast commercials. I'm gonna spend, $3,000 back then for a 30-second commercial to put myself on the movie theaters, where it's not just a picture like this. It's like a little mini commercial. And I mean, people will still tell me now, I'll still hear, I see you at the movies. I haven't been on the movies for 10 years, but they'll still say, I see you at the movies, like it's happening now. So I just was, how do I make, like, good example, people would do, black and white flyers on their signs, if they would even do them at all. So I would do 4-page colored brochures. I'd take a CD and put it on there with like 50 pictures on the CD with my, just anything I could do that was so different than everyone else. Had professional videography and photography like way back when, before anyone was doing it. Like I made sure that anything I did, I just did it to where people would notice. And
you did all this year one?
Year one, yeah. I was I don't know about the professional videography. The second it came out, and I did, but I was doing professional photography and all that. And the second video came out, I was on top of it doing drone, and Facebook ads came out, and I learned Facebook marketing, and I was like mastered Facebook advertising. So people just saw me everywhere in a different way.
Do you remember what your first 5 or 10 deals, like how you got those first 5 or 10 deals?
Bobby Jones was my very first one. He's still my friend and a client. Deal. Yeah. And I was at an open house, and he came in, and I was like, let's go right now. I locked the door during the open house, went out and showed him houses during the, and he'll still call me. He's awesome. Yeah. Nice. I remember him. And
so first 5 or 10 deals were kind of very traditional grassroots, all real estate, open houses, knocking the neighborhood, stuff like that.
All buyers, 69 buyers. That was when they had Thomas guides. You don't even know what that is.
All 69 of them were buyers.
First. Yeah,
oh, wow.
69.
I am right on the precipice of someone who still knows what a Thomas guide is. So I still had to use Thomas guides when I first got my driver's license.
Did you?
Within a couple of years, I had a smartphone and maps and all that kind of stuff.
Well, imagine having to show 17 houses the Thomas guide.
Well, my dad was a real estate agent, so all of our cars were stocked with Thomas guides.
And then you're like, oh, can we see that house? No, because I don't know what's going to mess up my route,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so first year, you make more than you've made in your entire career combined.
Yes.
In 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
What happens year 2? Are you just I'm going to be in real estate for the rest of my life. There's nothing I'll ever do again. I'm going to crush this.
I loved it. I did love it, and I was great at it. Actually, I had
all in Northern California.
All in Northern California. And back then, the houses weren't a lot. So imagine 69 houses only making $760,000-ish. And I might get the numbers wrong, but they were like 200,000, 300, but they weren't a lot. And so the second year in the business, the top producing agent, her name was Tara. I won't say the last name, but she dominated. She came to me and said, let's be partners. And so stupid me, I did. And then she moved 4 hours away while I was running 26 deals a month by myself. And finally, after a year of doing that and wanting to kill myself, I was like, I love you, but can we separate? And she just made my life a living miserable hell.
Of course.
And I realized never partner with anybody ever again. And so she took every listing that we had and took all the commission. I said, you know what? Who cares? Start over. And she's not even in the business anymore. And I just
that's what happens.
Yep, sold 100 plus homes. I averaged 134 homes a year as a solo agent the whole time.
As a solo agent. You had an assistant, and
I had 2 assistants. So I had a transaction coordinator and an assistant and myself. Yeah.
Wow.
And I went to every closing. I was relentless with, I was psycho about, I'm obsessed with the customer experience. So I was one of those agents. I didn't realize how much I was working until now that I'm a coach.
Yeah.
And even though I've got multiple businesses, I didn't realize how much I was working because I didn't work weekends.
Yeah.
Didn't work nights. People would come to me because I was so specialized. But I was on the phone all the time. So I was like that mom going on the zip line. You see those people and they're the funny jokes about realtors on parachute and they're on their computer. That was me. I didn't realize I was like that. Yeah, I was a psycho.
But it ended up working out.
I don't advise it. Do not do that.
What would you have changed if you could go back?
Oh, I remember when my daughter graduated from high school, I was crying. I'd be at a listing appointment. I'd see the pictures of them and I'd start crying. I realized, even though I was an amazing mom and I'm proud of myself, but I realized how much I missed. I remember one time Jalen had a play and, you're supposed to be your own business. And I remember going, crap, she's got a play right now. It was a school play. And I run to the cafeteria and she's up there with the the color of this, crying on stage because she didn't see me.
Oh no.
And that wasn't me typically, but I mean, I might have been late. They might have been like the last parent pickup line a couple times, but
Sure.
I just regret not being as present as I could. I was like in survival mode still,
Totally.
like a lot of the insecurity about money
Yeah.
from the foster home and not having any, and then the husband leaving it. And I was like on this desperation to make money. So for a long time, I made money out of fear.
Yeah.
It was like fear-based money. And I've had to, and I will advise everyone, that's like scared money doesn't make money, even though I did, but it's not the best way to do it. But I lived out of fear, mostly of like grinding, never saying no, afraid to, for so many years until finally I figured it out. And I left real estate 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Selling 154 homes that year. And I just was like, I would rather be a stripper in Vegas and no one would ever pay me than sell real estate anymore. I was so tired.
Then and this is before like growing big teams was a thing.
Oh yeah,
right?
never had a team.
Like I noticed that was like not a thing that happened until like maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah, I didn't know teams. It was just, I was solo.
Yeah. But I mean, the nice thing is you get to keep all the money.
Yeah. And I was very profitable. My gosh. I mean,
it
was insane. I mean, like now we average $1 million a month now in my coaching business. And I think I might have made more money as a realtor because of all the expenses. Like no one tells you,
well, now you have like ops and finance.
Oh my gosh. And all the
HR
employees and it's like, it's been, no one says that. Like to make your first ClickFunnel, like I made $1 million. It cost me $1.2 million to make $1 million. Like they never tell you that story.
Yeah, that's because it's not true.
Like, no, they want to. I made $1 million. Like, but it cost me $1.2 million to make $1 million.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody wants to
make it so
have
glamorous.
the good story that makes them look like they're awesome, but they're really hurting.
Yeah. Do you want to know what? Just ask me. I'll tell you the truth.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then you started getting into real estate coaching. What made the jump to that like official? Like, did you do both of them at the same time for a little while because you didn't want to let go, or were you just like, I'm done?
This is a good question. So I was training my brother for like a year. So basically, I knew I wanted to, actually probably 2 years. I knew I wanted to leave. So I was like, Josh, I'm going to train you to take over me.
Okay.
So I started like he would go on listing appointments with me. He would start doing the thing.
He's older, younger?
He's 4 years younger.
Okay.
So I brought him in. And I just showed him the ropes and taught him, and he was killing it. I mean, we were doing like 150, 160 homes a year, and I would just give him a great, pay. And then one day I just got to a point where I was like, I just can't do it anymore. So I just called him and said, hey, guess what? I'm going to go coaching and I'm starting. He's like, okay, you mentioned that. I'm like, I'm starting tomorrow. Like, you need to come over tomorrow and I am giving you the whole book of business. I'm done.
Keys to the kingdom. Yeah.
Literally. I was like, bye-bye.
Yeah.
So I just like, he became the face of it. I was the face of it, but he would go on the appointments. I brought him in like on all the video content and all that.
Yeah.
And, he then became the expert. I was like, behind the scenes, but I was really building my coaching business, and which was very difficult to do. So I was taking money from my real estate business to pay for my coaching business. And I forgot how hard that was because now I'm starting a new business, Fast Year, where I'm coaching realtor, like experts and consultants. And you realize how hard it is in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
How much it takes. And so that was kind of the journey. And so, but I do not regret it. It was the best thing I've done. I love coaching. I'm really good at what I do. I do it so differently. And so it's fun. Like my teacher roots are coming back and I get to help people. And,
that's true. Yeah. You kind of have both. You have the teaching experience,
but
then you also have the experience of actually doing the thing that you're coaching on, which is more unique than you'd think it would be. But,
oh my gosh. You have no idea. There's all these coaches like, do this to sell a house. They've never sold a house before. I'm like, how is that? How do you do that? Like, how do you become a coach? Or an expert,
it's like I'm all about having confidence, but I think this is like borderline scammy.
Yeah, I know, but most of them are like that. They've never
crazy.
sold. Yeah, it's like
crazy,
insane.
And that's not just in real estate. That's in like
most
every
things.
coaching.
For those that can't do, then teach.
That's exactly right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. No, you want somebody who's actually been there, done that.
Yeah.
So glad that you're doing it and glad that you're killing it. I mean, $1 million a month is some pretty decent results in the coaching space.
Not profit.
Yeah. But it's a real business though.
Oh, big.
Yeah, right. Exactly. What was the first time that you realized like that this was going to be a wildly profitable thing for you? Like this is something that you were like, I'm going to crush this, the coaching piece.
Let's talk before that. Okay. So nobody really knew that, like how much I was suffering in silence, including myself. Like I didn't realize how time consuming it is to sell 150 homes a year.
By yourself.
Yeah. I didn't realize just how much like it was consuming me and how much it was taking me away from being present.
For context too, by the way, the average realtor does what? 15, 20 a year?
Oh no,
Average?
the NAR says it's 12. It's less than 2. So if you take the amount of real estate agents there are based upon how many sold, it's less than 2.
Got it.
NAR says 12 because it sounds better, but it's not true.
Yeah, and they might be taking a factor of like people who work it a certain amount of time, if that's possible.
Like I averaged 134 homes was my average over 17 years a year.
Great.
So they're taking that average for the ones that sell 1 and
Or
cutting
zero.
it for 12. Yeah, that's how it works. So it's like 95% of agents do 5% of the business. 5% of agents do 95%.
Pareto's principle, but skewed even.
Yeah, way more. Yeah. So
anyway, sorry. So
it's okay.
You're burning out.
I love it.
Yeah, a
but
year.
when I wanted to change, I told I was listening to the book Think and Grow Rich. Like I actually used to run this program called Teens Lifting Lives for like 6 years, where I would pay teenagers like $1,000 or $500 or $750 to read a book with me for 8 weeks. And then they would have to do these things like they had to pay it forward every day, 1 hour of no social media or no phone. They had to do like 4 or 5 things for this 8-week time frame. And once they graduated, I'd give them money. So our thing was reading this book, Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. And so I was reading it, and for like the 5th time, because every time I would do the class, I'd read it again. And it was like, you have this calling to, and people have this calling, and most people never take it. Like successful people take the calling when the calling is given to them. And I was like, I've been being called to coach because for like 3 years, I was hearing, you should be a coach. You're so inspiring. You're so motivating. And I was like, I literally was like naked, blow drying my hair in the bathroom. And I went to the computer and I did this post. I'm going to be a coach. And and I told my mom and dad and my husband, who are like my biggest supporters and fans, I'm going to be a coach. And they're like, Krista, we love you. But normal people at 47 don't leave their career making $1.8 million of GCI a year to go be a coach. Like nobody is going to pay you. We love you, honey, but don't do it. Like, not a good idea. Like people kill to have the kind of income that you have. And I was like, yeah, but I'm miserable. And so they wanted to support me and help me, but they weren't. So, but I just did it anyways. And it was very difficult. I remember crying in the kitchen, like, why did I do this? Like real estate was easier. What an idiot I am. And then finally, like it took me 11 months to hit $1 million. Like got my first 2 Combo Club award, which is where you do $1 million in sales with one funnel. And then like 3 months later, I had another $1 million, and then 2 months later, another $1 million. So we've done like 11 million, $11 million funnels, different funnels.
Yeah.
And so it's like like once it hit. And then I did great for a while, and then it like a huge dip. Like all of a sudden, I realized I was spending as much as I was making almost because I was just growing too big and I wasn't being cautious.
Okay. Well, I'll
go
let
ahead.
you go. No, go ahead. I'll ask a question. Well, I was going to say, how much of that phase do you think is necessary?
Which phase?
This phase where you're spending almost as much as you're making because no one knows who you are, and you're trying to grab branding and you're trying to grab market awareness.
I think it's, for me, I like to pay for speed and pay for currency. I think organic growth is really important. And in fact, I'm really obsessed with it right now. Yeah. But like I could spend $200 on a local ad, and I could get 500 hours of watch time. Like literally that's what you do. Like put an ad out, 350 hours, 344 hours, 500 hours, 700 hours of watch time for $200, and then retarget my community. So I'm showing up all over the place so that everywhere I go, people are like, oh my God, I see you everywhere. Right. So it's not as expensive as you think at all. In fact, since no one's doing it, it's really pretty easy. It's locally. Now that was different when I was in coaching because now I'm doing it nationally, right? No one knew who I was. Like I literally, like everyone knew me in my local community, like you the podcasting, and I was doing something similar with Facebook ads and video. But locally it was easy, but nationally it was like, who is this person? So it was a lot. Like I wrote a book, and I created video content and ran brand awareness campaigns where I'd put money out there directed to my ideal client, avatar realtors. And I would just, without asking them to do anything, just give them value. Content. Just be in front of them. I would pay for attention, right? And then I started to and everyone hated me because they're like, I'd say open houses suck, and I was like saying everything they were taught to do. I said do the opposite. So you had all these haters,
and you always have the haters that are doing 3 transactions.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're talking about.
You're an idiot, and I'm like, oh my God, everyone hates me. And then and it's funny because I've been doing this now for 6 years, and it took me about 5 years to where now I'll go places and people are like, aren't you that real estate agent, or aren't you that entrepreneurial coach? Because now we coaches, but it took me 5 years to do it because it's so much more expensive nationally. You know what I'm saying? Well, but it's like you were talking about earlier. It takes time.
That was my point bringing it up because there was a point where we were spending almost as much as we were making, And it was like,
Mm-hmm.
but how much profit did you make? And I'm like, I know that that's technically the metric that matters, but also like sometimes you just need more attention. And sometimes it's really beneficial to get your brand in front of the right people. And like that can attract investor money, and that can attract partnerships on a bigger level because more people are being made aware that you even exist.
And you
know
can't
what I mean?
always base success metrics on dollars, right? So like we're learning now to where it's like, okay, like I'll give you an example. Last month, we spent $70,000 on Facebook ads for our coaching business. Okay. We sold, I think, 71,000.
Okay.
So, and now that's just for ads. So that doesn't include my team and everything else. So, I mean, it's a loss, but those aren't the metrics. We brought in like, a lot of leads.
Yeah.
Now these leads are going to go into my CRM. Now I can nurture them, right? So we're looking at, okay, how much exposure are we getting? How much attention are we getting? How many leads are we getting? Like that's the true metric when you first start. You can, and that's why it's hard for some people, to do it. So if you want to scale at a larger level, you can invest or you can do it organically, right? Organic takes longer, but it lasts longer. So there's just different ways of doing things. But I think, and some people just, it happens, which seems like overnight.
Sure.
Like people will say, oh my gosh, you've done this business overnight. I'm like, I was a real estate agent, top 1% for 17 years in a row. There's nothing overnight.
What people undervalue is something called skill stacking. Is that they completely undervalue that they'll look at you as a coach and be like, oh, well, you had this overnight success. And it's like, you had 17 years of like sales and communication experience that's irreplaceable. You can't learn that in school. You're not going to learn it getting a degree. It is only comes from the experience and the work that you put in during the time where you were a realtor. Like just like you don't realize the little things that you say that are scripts that will make you $1 million that you just say like clockwork that you don't even think about saying anymore, but somebody new would never even think to phrase it that way.
Or even know what it is or why you're saying it.
Or the tonality that you're using, or the body language that you're using, or like just the little small things that are they're so second nature to you now, you don't even think about them. But those skills stacked over a period of time and then added to this new thing is what allows you to have the exponential, growth in a small period of time.
Yeah.
It's not because you just have overnight success. It's because you're already really good at these like 3 things. Now all you got to do is add this 4th thing into the mix, and then you can grow at a much higher rate than anybody else. And
even then, it still takes so much time.
Yeah.
Right? It takes so much time. And I think, recently I was like, this is hard. And my one of my team members, she's like, Krista, I was just reading this quote from a billionaire. And he said, like, the biggest mistake that he sees people making is that they give, like, very successful people that were just going to, like, crush it, that they kind of like 3 feet from gold, right? But they just give up too soon. And if they just would have held on a little longer, they would have had exponential, massive growth. And that is the thing that I see. And it's crazy because when I used to go, so first of all, you mentioned this earlier when you were on my podcast. And you were like, the barrier to entry in a lot of industries is very easy. Real estate, MLM, these different things, right? So because the barrier to entry is so easy, most people don't do what it takes to get to be very successful, right? Now I forgot what I was going to say, but it was going to be good. It was going to be
3
good
feet
there.
from gold. Yeah. You're right. You're right there. You quit too early.
Oh, you're so good for listening. Now I was thinking like, I think this might be kicking in.
Yeah, exactly.
IQ, obviously, but so, man, it was going to be good too. Like,
we'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll dig back around to it. Yeah. But yeah, it's all about building that brand then. Like it's more the long-term stuff that you're doing. It's more like investing in the business to make it grow, even if your profit is dwindling at the expense of increased impressions. It's like you can solve for profitability a little bit later down the road. Like right now, you need people to be aware that you even exist. So that's why that was the reason I asked that question.
I remember.
All right.
Okay. So I thought that because, realtors can be very difficult. Like they don't want to invest. I charge $24,000 for my coaching for realtors.
Yeah.
I've been paid up to $200,000 for teaching coaches and experts. Right. But so I've got a lot of, over the past 3.5 years, we've been doing these events.
Yeah.
And we've learned this model. I mean, we've done this like 48 times now. And every single time we do an event, we tweak, we modify, we adjust. So I've been speaking on these stages talking about this model. And so I've had a lot of people come to me and say, will you teach this to me? So I assumed that entrepreneurs were going to be better than real estate agents in the fact that they would realize that things take time, They have to invest. They have to like give it the time it takes for it to work. They have to work, right? And I thought that real estate agents, because of the barrier to entry is so easy, we're harder to work with. Not true.
Really?
Oh my gosh. Like I think even sometimes entrepreneurs are even harder. It's because they think they know everything. And it's like for them to like kind of learn a new way. So I was just like, man, people don't understand. Like you have to work at things. Like if you want to, nothing comes overnight. You have to put effort in and time. I mean, things take time and money. It's like, and if you don't have the money, it's going to take way more time. So find the money. It's like figure out the money, because you can't get the time back. And you're actually wasting more money by spending the time and just investing the time. Yeah. But it's just been crazy.
Yeah, it's going to take some resource.
Yes.
Probably both time and money. If you have more money, then you can use money to pay people like you so that you don't have to take 3 years to figure out this thing.
Even then, still takes a ton of time and energy.
But yeah, and then even after you pay for that, and like the thing that people I think are disillusioned by is the fact that they join one program and it takes them a lot, because it's like, man, I've never spent $5,000 on something before that's like a coaching program. And like you're talking about a $24,000 coaching program. I'm saying like for somebody that's totally new, they're like, man, 5,000, it's a big hurdle. And as soon as they let go of that $5,000, their only intention is getting it back. And they forget about the fact that they're building a business long-term, and that $5,000's a drop in the bucket compared to the idea that they have of how much money they want to make. It's like, that's the discrepancy. Like to me, it's like, you can't have these massive goals and then hold your money like this.
Oh, no.
You know what I'm saying? I'll ask people about, when I was selling podcast coaching or trainings and courses and stuff like that, I'd ask people that, like, how much money do you intend on making with this show? And they're like, oh, $100,000 a year. It's like, okay, well, this course, it's out on a webinar, this course is $1,000, and people balk at the $1,000 course price. And it's like, you want to make $100,000 a year on this podcast? You know zero things about podcasting,
and you won't pay.
And you don't think that $1,000 course from somebody who's been there, done that is going to help you be able to get to the point where your podcast is churning out $10,000 a month? Like that, like this is not a small, like, what do you, how do you think you're going to get, it's just going to take you 3 or 4 years to figure out everything that I figured out in 3 or 4 years.
Way more than that.
Yeah. And then the broader point behind that is that you're probably not going to make it work, because you're not going to last 3 or 4 years.
You're not going to last 3 or 4 months.
Right. Because you're going to get so, frustrated with the process that I'm going to help you through for $1,000. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like, but people, when they have $300 in their bank account, it's like, man, $1,000 is a lot of money. It's like, I agree that in your perspective, $1,000 is a lot of money. But when you have that's not the problem to me. The problem to me is that you have these crazy goals, but you still think that $1,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And like, you have to think at the level of the person that you want to become, not the level of the person that you are, if you're going to get to that next level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to allow yourself to think about money in that malleable, flexible way, where it's like, man, that's a lot of money for
and
me.
it's replenishable. I just learned
it is replenishable.
So
exactly.
I'm writing a check. I just got approved for this new mastermind, and it's $250,000 investment. Okay. Now, right now is not the optimal time for me to be investing $250,000, because I haven't been as profitable. It's been a rougher 15 months, right? But and on top of that, like I just did a $70,000 investment to write, 2 new books, like these things, and people are like, oh my God, my team's like, oh, and I'm like, listen, I'm not spending this money. I'm investing this in my own.
Yes.
This is an investment. And I've always had that mentality to where, it'd be so cool to do a podcast or something with 10 very successful people to see how much money they've actually spent. And even you're very smart, Travis, very smart, and you're still investing. It's the best money that you will ever spend, because you're taking the time, the energy, the money, the resources, the knowledge from somebody else, that what they did wrong, what they didn't, and not doing it. I mean, there's not a better investment. People will spend so much money to go to college,
right?
And to be a doctor, to be a financial advisor, to do these things, to make such little money.
Yes.
Such little money.
And to have little impact.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars a day, and work for somebody else. And the amount of profits that doctors, and I have friends, doctors and dentists make, it is so sad. And if you would just invest in learning a skill set that somebody's done something well, it is the best investment I've ever made. So for me, it's like, okay, this is not fun to write this check. It's a little scary.
Yeah.
It's 4 times more than I made as a teacher.
Yeah, right.
Working 12 months in a row, making, after 6 years. But I know, my mindset is it'll pay off. It'll pay off. And even when I'm having rough times, I'm always like, this isn't payoff. I'm doing the right thing. Even if I'm not seeing the results, I'm like, I don't ever say it's not working. It's like,
Right.
it's like my mindset is it's working. I'm doing it. Like I'm building the foundation. I'm doing the thing. It's a complete mindset shift constantly. I think you have to have that when you're in business.
I've never made an investment in those things that has not worked out to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Because first of all, I think it's about having the right mindset going into it. Second of all, it's about how much you work the program or the mastermind or the thing the coaching, whatever. Like if you have a coach, like they don't do the work for you. That's the dumb thing is people think coaching is like, I paid for this, therefore I must get result. And it's like, no, you paid for it. Now you have to work and then you get the result. Like I'm not going to do the work for you, man. Like I'm here to tell you what to do. You go do it. Then like, that's how it works. You know what I mean? Like, like Phil Jackson isn't playing. He's telling Michael Jordan, this is the play. And then Michael Jordan goes out, Kobe goes out, Shaq goes out. Like he's the coach that he's not the player. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Like you're the one in the game. Go get in the game. Just do the things I'm asking you to do because I've been in that game and I know that they're going to work if you go do them.
Yeah.
And so there's been several programs that I thought didn't work, meaning that like the promise that was promised to get me to go in was like not fulfilled. And at first I had this like really negative attitude about it where I was just like, man, screw this industry, these people suck and whatever. But then whenever I looked at it from a longer term point of view, I would notice that like, oh, you know what? I thought that thing was a waste of money. That $20,000 thing I bought, 4 years ago was a waste of money. But like somebody just hit me up on an email last week. And this is like 3 years, difference between the time that I was in this program and the time that this person hit me up. Somebody that I met in that group that we became good friends who was launching a podcast and paid me like $25,000 to launch their podcast.
Just the relationships alone.
Like, oh yeah. I guess like everything I've ever done is really like, and I've invested, I don't know, close to $500,000 now. There was one mastermind I was in, it was $100,000 a year. I did it for a couple of years. And every time I've put money out, not only has it directly come back to me directly from like people in the group or business that I've done with those people or referrals that they've made to me, but again, the relationships and the knowledge that you gain in that time period collapses the time that it takes that would take for you to normally get that information if you're just going to do it on your own.
Absolutely.
And then you fast forward again enough time and you have 20 years of building relationships with the type of people who are also willing to invest in themselves at that level. Those are great people to have in your circles. Like the types of people that are willing to go say like, not like I want to learn, and to prove how much I want to learn, I'm going to put $100,000 in this group, or I'm going to put $250,000 into this one group. Like those types of people are people that are constantly growing, constantly learning, constantly evolving. And a lot of times really solid people to be around and really solid people to have in like your network of professional friends.
Especially when you're wanting to go to a different level, right? I mean,
totally.
I don't know about you, but like, a lot of my friends are teachers and they're police officers, and to talk to them about the things that we go to parties, we don't talk about strip clubs. We talk about like what's your funnel doing? Like what's your marketing? How are you doing this? Right. But they're amazing and but there's a different mentality not a mentality that they can't even understand. Like they're making $100,000 a year when you can make $100,000 in a month. So it's hard to talk to them about it. So, but when you're like, I love being and I'm going to be in this mastermind, I'm in like the smallest person in the room. Like I'm going to be like, I'm in this room with like, oh my gosh, how'd they even accept me? I think I got the girl token card. I'm not sure, but I think so. But you know what I mean? Like I want to be that person because I want to learn from them. And when I see other people doing so well, I say, if they can do it, I can do it. Like my mind goes, if they can do it, I can do it. Like you have to adapt.
There's nothing special.
But people think there are. They're like, I'm always like, I'm just a girl with the bit till she was 11 and couldn't read and has been in a foster home. Like, if I can do it, you can do anything. I mean, that's how you have to look at things. But people's minds, like there's the unicorn effect. They see, Travis and like, oh my gosh, Travis is because he's got these big muscles and he's, blah, blah, blah. And he's, works
they weren't
out.
always there.
Yeah. And that's why he's successful. It's like, no, he worked his butt off and did the thing and he took risks and he, failed and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And every time you get like, if you ask yourself this question, you don't know the answer to it, then it's probably about time you should do it. And the question is, when was the last time I was the dumbest person in the room? If you don't have an answer to that question, then I think you're doing things the wrong way. Because like I am always the dumbest person. Like it seems like to me, in my opinion, it's like I get into these rooms and I'm just like, man, I'm and
it can be intimidating.
I was in this mastermind.
I want to know the 100K one too. What you were
Yeah, I'll tell you. I was in one of these mastermind breakout sessions, this 100K mastermind, and I was feeling pretty good because I just clocked in like my first ever like $250,000 month, and I was like, like feeling like pretty good about myself.
Yeah.
We go around the table, we're like all telling about our struggles in the business. This guy next to me is like, yeah, we're stuck right around 40 million right now, and we're trying to get to 50, and these funnels are giving us an issue. And I was just like, okay, well, my problems seem really, really small at this point. All right. Next person comes up. They go, yeah, we're trying to sell our company for over $1 billion. We're right around 180 million this year, and we're trying to get to about 220. And there's these like things that keep popping up, and we keep running these issues with compliance. And this big competitor of ours was stealing data. And I was just like, all right, well, why am I here? Like, I don't understand why I'm here. You know what I mean? But like, you get in rooms like that with again, normal seeming everyday people that have built something amazing because they took the time to work through the issues that they had and kept leveling up over a long period of time. When you get in rooms like that, like I was feeling pretty good about myself. And objectively, it was pretty good numbers that we were hitting in the business, but when you get into rooms where people are doing that type of stuff, it just makes you realize like, man, if I want to get to that level, it is possible.
Yes.
And I now know people who have gotten to that level who like, later that night, we're all hanging out at a party and just like chilling, get to know each other. And they want to know what I've done, right? Like they find what I've done interesting. It's like, to me, it's like, I feel like I'm nothing here, but they want to know how I, had Shaq on my show, or they want to know how I got in touch with these people over here. And like, they want to know the things that I have to tell them, but I want to know more about what they are doing because they have other skills that I don't have. It's like this, our iron sharpening iron thing, to steal something from what the Bible says about it. That happens when you get into those types of rooms, and those people will always turn you into a better version of yourself.
Yes.
Especially the more you continue to invest in rooms like that.
I'm attracted to ones too that it isn't just about money. It's like they want to have, they're into health, and they want to be the best parent. They want to be the best spouse. Like like that's the kind of masterminds that I tend to gravitate towards. A lot of it's from my upbringing. I think probably you too. Where,
sure.
I want to be just the best version of everything. And so when you're around other people that feel the same way, it's nice.
Well, when I was fat, I was that way. I was like, when I first started gaining a lot of weight, I would go, because like where I'm from, there's not a lot of wealthy people, so I would go back, and this is when I was just doing door-to-door sales, but I was making six figures. Yeah. I was like 23,
That's great.
Knocking doors.
Yeah.
And, but I was starting to gain a lot of weight, and I went back to where I grew up, and like I had this guy he was actually on one of the basketball teams I used to coach, and he was like in college now at that point when I was gone. And he said something about like how much weight I'd gained or something, like says like you're looking pretty like big. Or I think he was really blunt about it and just said like, looking kind of fat there, Travis, or something like that. And like my response was just because I was obviously insecure about that at that time, and frankly didn't realize how much weight I'd been gaining.
Yes, you don't realize it.
No,
huh?
It just packs on so fast. And so I said something like, yeah, so is my wallet, or something like that. And it was like at that time where like as soon as I said the words, I was like, I felt good about the comeback, but also it made me go like, I don't want to be that guy though.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy that's just like, oh yeah, he's got a lot of money, but have you seen him lately? Like, oh my gosh, like look how much.
Well,
and then everything's worse, like, and
like you have to use that to like
totally
like to make you feel good. And sometimes I've noticed myself doing that. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be that person. Like you're in these rooms and you feel, and it's weird, even as a woman, sometimes I feel like that, even though it's like, now I'm like, my new power is that I'm a woman. Like I'm changing my mindset.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. And I thought that it was just, you want to nail down every aspect of your life, and you should constantly be trying to improve them.
Yes,
and
always.
At least to the degree that you would like to do it. I think if you adopt other people's goals, then you can just be on this like treadmill of insecurity because all you care about is what other people think about you, not what you think about yourself. So for me, getting back in shape was not really a factor of like other people thinking of what other people thought about me. It was more just like, I want to be that for me.
Yeah.
Like, I want my kids to see their dad and be like, yeah, he's in shape. Yes, he makes good money. Like
takes care of himself.
And ultimately, you get down to it, our health is really all that we have. There's any rich person in the world, if they're unhealthy, they'd trade every single dollar they have just to be healthy again.
Exactly. You don't have a problem if money can pay for it, right? Yeah. Right. You do when you can't. Well,
Krista, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for coming on. This is a show all about relationships. You have been in positions where you were extremely lonely, And now you are in positions where you have a lot of really great relationships. And it sounds like you've had some lifelong friends along the way with your friend that you said that you've had since you were 7. And now she's like kind of second command at your company, which is really cool. Talk to me about the impact that high quality relationships has had on your life.
Oh, just huge. I mean, I love people. So I'm a people person. My slogan's always been people before things and the things will come. That was my slogan as a real estate agent. And it's just like, there's nothing more. I mean, like you talked, everything is a relationship business. I mean, even in this entrepreneurial world that we're in, it's like, it's so relationship based, and it's like, you can just collapse so many time frames by, like, I remember when I had a decision to, do this launch, and I was really afraid to do it because I didn't like, I was in a position where I didn't have the means that I thought to actually really do well in it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Is this the event you're talking about?
I did Tony Robbins and Dean Graziasi's top 10.
Gotcha.
2 years
for their affiliate.
Yeah. For their affiliate. Yeah. And I remember calling my mentor and saying, should I do this? And he says, Krista, I would pay $1 million just to be in the room with Tony Robbins. And I was like, oh, really? And it's like, okay, so I did it, and I ended up, getting second place and then third place this past year.
Nice.
And it took my mentor 10 years to get that relationship with Tony. Like, he did the whole Dream 100 and like sent him this Batman costume to his house, like did everything he could to get took him 10 years. It took me 8 months after that relationship, from doing their launch, adding value, helping them. And it was because of the relationship I had with my mentor, right? And just being able to be in positions that I never would have been in. And just like you just learn things from people through relationships that they normally wouldn't tell or talk about. And so it's just, there's nothing like it. Like you said, like you just, I mean, like I love people, I want to help people and be around them. And there's nothing more important than that. There's nothing more important than relationships, I believe.
So this will probably be a pretty easy question for you to answer then. Do you believe that who you know or what you know is more important?
Who you know. You remember the book Who Not How from Dan Kennedy and Dr. Benjamin Hardy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ben
Read
Hardy.
the book, Who Not How. I mean, it's so true. It's like in every aspect. I mean, the who's are everything. They can just from the who they know and the introductions they can make, and it's just so many different reasons why. And especially when you get into these places where you're around, like we were talking, we're like the smallest people in the room, right?
Yeah.
That you learn things that you would never have known to do or not to do that can just absolutely take years off of what you're trying to do. And like you had said, you've done so many programs, me too. And there's times where I'm like, damn, this was not even worth, $440,000, or this was not worth whatever it was. But then I always try to take one thing.
Yeah.
And just, if I can get one thing and focus on that one thing, it's worth it. And more often than not, it's the people.
Yeah. Right. Totally.
Yeah.
And every time I did one of those too, for me, it was like, every dollar I've ever invested into myself is another dollar that I bet on me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there is something powerful about that. And I don't think that it should be the only reason you go invest in stuff, or you're just going to waste money on programs and never do anything.
Yeah.
And there are people that are like that, by the way. There's people who just like spend money on programs thinking that that's the answer to their problems, and it's not. It's the work that they're avoiding. So you can kind of be an information junkie, I think, and never actually do anything. Yeah, totally. But assuming you're that type of person, I don't think that you can waste money doing it. Because like I said, every time I put a dollar into me has been another dollar that has made me believe in myself a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because like, again, something the Bible got right is where your treasure is, that's where your heart is. And if you're constantly investing into yourself and in your own growth and your own development, then you're going to care a lot more about it. You know what I mean? Like money has this really powerful way of becoming your number one accountability partner.
Oh, growth. Yes.
And regardless of if, again, that program worked for you, or these steps ended up working out, or they did what they said they were going to do, just like, at the end of the day, man, every dollar I've ever invested in myself, I've gotten back out.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only sure investment that you can make.
Warren Buffett says,
can't be stingy about it.
Best investment you can make is an investment in your own earning power and your own education, especially during times of recession. That is straight from Warren Buffett.
Yep.
Because they can't take it away from you.
Right. The master investor himself, and especially if you, like, people, will ask, like, well, I have saved up $20,000. What should I do with it? And it's like, put it in you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
There's not a better investment. And if you only have 15, 20 grand to put in something, Like it's not going to do it. It's not going to do as much for you as you investing in yourself is going to do for you.
Take a loan. There's even a Bible story where it was Elijah, and he's like, this woman came to him and said, I don't have any money. Elijah, how are you going to help me? And he said, how are you going to help yourself? Like, you got to help yourself. He's like, go and find out what you've got. Like, what do you have in your hands? And she's like, I have this one thing. And he's like, okay, go ask your neighbors for more. And then he's like, okay, now go sell it. Go sell it. Sell what they've given you. Then go pay people back and then take the profits. Like, so she, you've got to invest in yourself. Like, even, no one's going to do it for you. You got to invest in yourself and take that. Like, even if you have to, that's one thing I don't believe what's that guy that tells you to save everything?
Ramsey.
I don't believe in Ramsey. He's like, don't ever have any debt. Like, I believe that in a lot of ways, but not when it comes to investing in your business and your earning power, your education, your knowledge. Like, invest. I mean, that's the quickest way for you to take that investment and triple it, quadruple it, 100x it.
Yeah, I'm always careful when I tell people about that because debt in general is bad because most people don't use debt well.
Yes.
And like they screw themselves because they get, they think a credit card is just fun money and it's not real, and they can just go buy a new TV and they can get a new sound system, and they've been meaning to upgrade their stereos in their car or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, if you use debt for those things, it's objectively terrible. Those are bad ideas.
Yes.
But every time I've started a business, when I started my software company, when I started my podcast, when I started anything that I've like started that's new, I've always taken out 0% credit cards that give me 0% interest for 12 months. And I put the entire balance of starting, like everything that I need for that business, I put on credit cards. It gives me 12 months to pay it off interest free. I've never made an interest payment. All of them have all been paid off every time. Good. And it gives me credit card points that I can use to go travel to like industry events and go meet people that can help me make more money during that time period. You know what I mean? Like I've done very well like leveraging debt. So to say that debt is always bad is just, it's silly. And while I agree that probably more people should take that path, like if you have any desire to have outsized success in life, you are probably going to need to use debt to be able to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I agree.
If you are just trying to like be middle class and you don't really care about any of that, and you just want to and you're in like deeply in debt right now, and you're got to claw your way out, and you had bad experiences, then like I think a lot of what he teaches is really good advice for some of those people, just to start building the discipline of not spending more than you make.
Yes.
Like
not when it comes to your education.
Yes,
earning
correct.
Power, your business.
With that one, I always, that's why I tell people on my show all the time, like whenever I have an author on, I tell people like, buy the book now. Buy the book. Don't wait. Buy the book right now. The only thing that should be an unlimited budget in your expenses every month is like books. Just like, buy the books, listen to the books, read the books.
Do the books.
Years and years and years and years and years of knowledge and experience wrapped up in 250 pages from somebody who's been there, done that, and you can buy it for $23. Like, come on, unlimited budget when it comes to books and audiobooks. But anyway, it sounds like we agree on a lot of that stuff. Who you know, what you know is a question I've asked probably 700 people on the show. So
they all probably say the same thing. Who you know?
You know what? You'd be surprised.
Really?
That's actually the book that I'm thinking about writing right now. Is a book about like who you know versus what you know, and why I think it's who you know. But there's been a lot of different answers I've gotten for that question over the years. You'd think it'll either be who you know or what you know, but everybody comes up with different little things to say.
Both.
What you know is obviously important.
It's
you got to be competent, and you have to do the work, and you have to build skills. But yeah, to me, it's like, if you focus more on the who, the what will come with the who that you know. Whereas if you focus more on the what, the who will not necessarily come unless you already have outside success doing that thing. So like Zuckerberg is a what you know guy, obviously.
Yes.
He built Facebook. Now he can meet anybody in the world that he wants to meet ever. So his who you know is definitely fed by his what you know, but the what you know was so objectively exponentially greater than like most people don't have control over that. Over how well their idea is accepted by the marketplace. And so if you wait to go meet people until you're successful and you're 55, and it's like, well, you probably missed out on a lot of great connections and opportunities in the meantime because you were waiting for people to come to you because you were so good at what you did. Whereas if you did the opposite and you go meet people who are already really good at what they do, and that's what you want to be good at, then like your what will increase exponentially based on the who that you bring into your life. And I don't find that the opposite is true. So my opinion is that it's still the who thing.
Yeah.
So, but it's like we talked about on your podcast. Relationships are what brings the most happiness and fulfillment in life.
Yes.
And when it comes to deathbed regrets, when it comes to actually sheer data on like the happiness study that Harvard did over like a 90-year time frame, there's so many other reasons why like filling your life with high quality people is going to do better for you long term. So
I agree.
Krista, thanks so much for coming to the show. I know that you do an event every single month. Tell me a little bit about that and how people can find that.
Yeah, so you can just find me on any socials, Krista Mashore, and then if you go to theprovenmodel.com/Travis, theprovenmodel.com/Travis, you can find out about how we help entrepreneurs, coaches and experts like scale high ticket offers.
The Proven Model.
Yep, theprovenmodel.com/Travis.
Yep. And then at Krista Mashore on all platforms.
At Krista Mashore.
Cool. And that's MASHORE.
You got it.
Krista Mashore on all the platforms. Go tell her what's up. Tell her you heard about her here on the show. Krista, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. You're awesome.